impeachment. We have to primary these people. We have to get them out. So, hey, Chris, thanks for joining us. And tell us where you're running. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're doing this.
Thank you, Holly, so much for letting me appear on your show. I'm actually in Fresno, California. The district is the 21st district, goes all the way from southern Kern County, which is the Bakersfield area, all the way up to Firebaugh, Mendota, and here in Fresno. We were astonished, dismayed, and severely disappointed when member Valadao decided to turn his back on our party and voted to impeach our president. Worse, not only did he vote to impeach him, but he called him unfit. And to me, that is an embarrassment and an unbelievable act. Our president, Mr. Trump, has stuck his neck out for Americans in the last 4 years. He's definitely made America great again. And we just really need to make sure if you're a Republican, you're a loyal conservative Republican, and you don't turn your back on the president.
I mean, does this guy, he's buying the line of Nancy Pelosi? I mean, that doesn't sound like much of a Republican.
Well, let me tell you what it is he thinks somehow that by voting to remove the president, again, playing politics, that he'll look better in the general election, that the Democrats will like him more because he turned his back on the president. But that's not what being a conservative Republican is all about. It's being loyal, working hard, fighting regulation, protecting our borders, and making America a safe, free country where people can work and not be controlled by big government.
Well, if he sold us out on this, I imagine he's going to sell us out on every issue right off the bat. I mean, he got right back into office, and now he's selling us out real quick.
And that's the problem with these type of Republicans. You can never trust them. You never know how they're going to vote. You never know when they're going to turn on you. There's plenty of names that are similar. You know, Mitt Romney's a prime example. He was our nominee for president, representing the Republican Party. And then look what he did. He was the only Republican in the Senate that voted to impeach the president. You just don't do things like that. People that are unloyal have no place in the government, no place in Congress, and definitely no place representing conservative Republicans.
It's like they have no idea of what Trump has done for this nation and rebuilding our economy. I know, Chris, you're up against it. Where do people get more information? How do they get involved with your campaign? I know you're all the way out in California, but in order to get rid of these rhinos, everybody's got to help out a little bit, right?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very simple. We're working hard to raise money. The website is simple. It's MathysCongress.com. The name is spelled Mathys, Congress.com. We would be grateful for $1, for $5, for $20. Anything you can help with, please donate. We are working hard, but again, we're fighting the swamp. I've already been threatened by Valadao saying that he's going to have $2 million to defeat me and make sure I never do business in Fresno again. We've got to fight hard. Anything will help. And you have my commitment to stay loyal to our president, President Donald Trump, and to our conservative Republican values.
Well, I appreciate, Chris, for you joining us. Can you give us that website one more time?
Sure. Thank you very much. It's MathysCongress.com, MathysCongress.com, spelled Mathys, Congress.com. It'd be an honor for your support. And you have, again, my commitment to fight for our conservative Republican values and our president, President Donald Trump.
All right. Thank you, Chris, and we wish you all the best of luck out there. So Chris is one of these guys, Jared, that is taking on the rhinos. And I know we had that caller earlier today saying like, oh, we can't do anything about this and blah, blah, blah. But there are people like this guy, Chris, he is a businessman. He's putting it all on the line. He's getting threats about running against an incumbent congressman. And this guy is saying, I'm going to take the chance. I am going to fight it out. So if Chris can put it all on the line, you guys can, talk to your family members, educate your neighbors. You can do a couple of things. So, fight it out. We don't roll over and play dead, because every time we roll over and play dead, we throw up our hands in frustration. We take our ball home. The Democrats win. They don't stop. They are the party of terminators. And I don't mean they're killing people. They are like the Terminator movie. They don't stop. They just keep coming and coming. Look at Hillary Care. Do you remember that when Hillary did her own form of Obamacare? They were going to have the cars. It got rejected. It was a disaster. And you thought, like, well, most people, like a Republican, if she was a Republican, she would have gone home, kind of hid underneath the covers and said, oh, no, 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 that was a huge failure. But the Democrats don't stop. They keep coming. Then they did health care for kids, the CHIPS program. And then it was expanding Medicaid and Medicare. And they just keep coming. Now we've got Obamacare, and Biden's trying to get us all right back into Obamacare. And they just don't stop. And we've got to have that same determination to fight back. We're talking about our country. Every time we turn around, these Democrats are pushing us more and more towards socialism. Do we want to go that way? I say no. I think it's worth the future. Let's fight back. And I don't mean like physical fight. Let's, write letters to the editor. Let's keep going out there and calling into radio stations and calling your friends and educating them. Don't just brush it off and say, oh, it's uncomfortable to talk about these things. Every time I'm in a conversation and somebody says to me, voter fraud isn't real, I explain to them, well, I work in the business and I've seen it. I've seen it multiple times. I've seen it here in Massachusetts. I've seen it in other states. And I can definitely tell you that what happened down there in the state of Pennsylvania, there was voter fraud. They also were very unconstitutional with the way they handled the ballots, okay? There were problems here. We cannot just turn a blind eye, and we've got to educate people. So that's why I think on Monday, that Trump's people should say, Lindsey Graham's like, don't talk about voter fraud. I say, talk about it, bring it up, force it out there into the American public so that they have to hear it, so that they get educated. And look, Trump is one of the things that Trump has done over the years is forced us into uncomfortable situations. And you go, really? That's true? Remember when Trump said that they were spying on his campaign? The first reaction was everybody's going, ooh, Trump's a little crazy. He's a little nutty to say that they were spying on him. And it turns out the FBI was plotting against him, was spying on his campaign. He wasn't nuts. Did he get an apology for it? No. So this is one of the reasons I was hoping the Electoral College was going to expose this. Now I say, and I know David Johnson, my good friend, says don't do that. I say on Monday that when Trump gets his 3 hours, that he takes that time and says, let's look at the facts here and go through it one by one and expose this. What do you have to say out there in Grace Curley land? Do you think that they should expose it on Monday? Or do you think that Trump should do the mic drop and say, this is unconstitutional, see you in the courts, I'm out of here? Those are the two ways to handle it. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're on next with Holly Robichaud. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hey, I like the poll. I don't know who's going to win, but I know who isn't in charge, and that's this former disgraced President Donald Trump. I hope he does come forward and embarrass himself again and talk about this sham voter fraud stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I look forward to him getting out there and embarrassing himself and humiliating himself one more final time before the American
people. So,
people.
Brian, you don't believe there was any voter fraud?
Look, of course, there's voter fraud to a degree on both
to a degree.
sides.
So in Brian, in Pennsylvania, 1.8 million people requested mail-in ballots. 2.5 million sent them back. That's to a degree? That's pretty overwhelming.
Look, here's what I think about all this.
Wait a minute. Isn't that pretty overwhelming?
Forward on both sides.
Isn't that kind of overwhelming?
I'm going to get to it.
Isn't that kind of overwhelming? Isn't that a lot?
Why didn't it hold up in court? Why didn't it hold up?
Because
they
didn't take up the carrot. No. It's because they didn't take up the case on the merit of the case. Okay, they said that they didn't have jurisdiction on it. So this has really not been out there. So I think this should come out there. Because look, in the state of Delaware, where they did the same process for mail-in ballots, okay? 191,000 people requested them in the state of Delaware. 167,000 of them sent them back. That makes sense. What went on in Pennsylvania absolutely doesn't make any sense. I've seen them shut down voting places in Pennsylvania. Okay? Pennsylvania is ripe. Okay? It's the wild, wild west. They don't do much on voter integrity there. So, Brian, so you think that he's going to embarrass himself by actually talking about it. So what do you care, right? What do you care then? If he's going to embarrass himself, what do you care?
I don't. I look forward to it.
Good.
And I'll tell you why he won't do it. Okay? For the same reason he couldn't bring it into court. Is a difference between what he can say to the American people on his former Twitter account and what you can actually bring into a court of law. Because you get in trouble when you go into a court and you lie. And that's why this
wait a minute,
never
Brian.
held up.
Do not even go there that he's lying. He has thousands of affidavits. It was the Democrats that have been lying about the Russian scandal. Shame on you. You know better than this if you're calling into this station. Shame on you. You're just a liberal. That's nuts out there. And I know that you don't like Donald Trump, but that doesn't give you the right to create facts that are not true. Come on, Brian. You want to call in, have a legitimate case on there. Don't just say you don't like Trump and you hope he makes an idiot of himself. You don't have any facts. You don't have any knowledge of what actually went on, do you, Brian?
You don't have any facts either.
I just told you, Brian, I'm sorry. I do have the facts, okay? I do have proof on it, okay? Brian, you have nothing. You couldn't respond to when I exposed what's going on in Pennsylvania. You said, oh, it's a little something. It's not a little something. That's a lot of something. Do you not know that? That in the state of Pennsylvania, 1.8 million ballots were mailed out to voters. 2.5 million came back. Is that not voter fraud? How does that happen? How did some ballots end up being counted before they were mailed out? How does that happen, Brian? How does that happen?
Look, Holly, all you were doing is parroting the same BS that Rudy Giuliani parroted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking facts and you don't like it. I'm sorry about that, Brian. Okay? And you are one of these people that needs to be woken up about what really went on. Have you, Brian, ever worked in an election and seen voter fraud? Because I have, Brian. I have. Have you?
As a matter of fact, I have. On a very
so
small
you've seen
level,
voter fraud.
I'm sure not to the degree you have.
No, but so you've seen voter fraud. So you don't believe that voter fraud happens?
Yeah, I absolutely do, and I believe.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Brian, for the call. Appreciate it. I'm Holly Robichaud, filling in for Grace Curley. We'll be right back with Howie Carr.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
I recently had a dental emergency, and where did I go? Perfect Smiles. I've said this before, but this reminded me again of what a perfectionist Dr. Houghton is.